All right, no live show tonight as Uncle Lou will be out of town. That's right, I'll be in Birmingham, Alabama. Today I'm getting ready to leave here in a little bit. If you want to fight me, meet me outside Legacy Arena in Birmingham between 6 and 7. If you want an autograph, meet me between 7 and 8. But first, up right now, time for one of my favorite videos of the off season. I try to do this video once a year. I think it was last off season when I did it, but my top 5 favorite coaches. Now, this is not the 5 best. This isn't a ranking of the best coaches or anything. Any idiot can do that, right? Dabo, Saban, Lincoln Riley, Kirby Smart. I mean, those are your top 4. And then, you know, if you want to argue over 5 through 10 or whatever, I mean, anybody can do that. This is Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite coaches in college football right now. Let's go. Okay, before we start on the list, Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite college football coaches of 2019, let's stop, pause, and have a few moments of silence for some of Uncle Lou's favorite coaches who are no longer with us. 3 names that have appeared on this list multiple times in the past, no longer with us in 2019. Moment of silence, please. All right, let's get going with this list. Number 5 on the 2019 Uncle Lou's favorite college football coaches. None other than khaki pants himself, Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh comes in at number 5. Now, this was tough. And number 4 was tough too for the same reason. It's a non-SEC coach. Somebody that Georgia doesn't play or hasn't played yet. It's possible we meet him in a bowl game or something, or a playoff somewhere down the road, but haven't played him yet. But I don't see how you can have a list of top 5 favorite coaches without putting Jim Harbaugh in it. The guy is a never-ending stream of entertainment, right? From his spend-the-night parties that he likes to have at recruits' houses, which is just weird. All these scavenger hunts or field trips or whatever it is that he takes his team on every offseason, the Vatican, I don't know, the rainforest, Somalia, wherever it is, he's taking them all over, taking his team to do spring practice at a high school in Florida. I mean, it's never ending. The guy's press conferences are must-watch TV. Mr. Personality, this guy, Jim Harbaugh, huh? What a personality this guy has. About the same type of personality as this wall has back here, which is about next to none. Khaki pants, gritting his teeth all the time. This guy, listen, never in the history of mankind has there been somebody constipated 24 hours a day until Jim Harbaugh. This whole look that he has constantly where he grits his teeth, he has to sleep with a mouth guard or something, man. He would just grind his teeth down to nothing. But anyway, Jim Harbaugh, of course, can't win the division, can't beat his rival, can't win a major bowl game. One of the most talented teams in America year after year, can't do anything with it. I mean, can't even win a division. Just pitiful. But he makes the list this year. Number 5, my favorite coaches. All right, number 4, another guy that's not in the SEC here, but I had to put him ahead of Harbaugh, though. Mike Leach. Now, this guy's the opposite of Jim Harbaugh when it comes to personality. This guy can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk in a post-game press. This guy can, I mean, I've seen this guy do hour-long post-game press conferences where he doesn't talk anything about football the entire time. Bigfoot, aliens, Area 51, the Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, the Masons. I mean, this guy goes on and on and on and on and on about things that have absolutely nothing to do with football. The guy's an absolute train wreck. And a total mess. But if he's behind the microphone, you have to watch it. When Tennessee had their 14th job opening in the last 10 years or whatever it was after the 2017 season, there was some word that Mike Leach may get an opportunity at that Tennessee job. And I don't think I've ever wanted a coach to get a job as bad as I wanted Mike Leach to get that Tennessee job. Mike Leach in the SEC would have been absolute gold, and he would have been number one on this list without question if he was an SEC coach. But again, he plays in the Pac-12. No one watches Pac-12 games. The post-game press conferences are like at 2 or 3 in the morning here, East Coast time, so you have to just watch the highlights or lowlights the next day or whatever it is. But Mike Leach, definitely one of the most entertaining coaches in college football, and he's number 4 on Uncle Lou's favorite college football coaches list for 2019. All right, the last 3 were hard. The last 3 were hard. I mean, the last 3 were obvious, but in terms of the order to put them in, it was really, really hard. They're all SEC coaches. For number 3, Uncle Lou's favorite college football coaches in 2019, I went with Florida head coach Dan Mullen. I love this guy. This guy runs his mouth all offseason, every offseason, then comes out and gets humiliated by UGA. This guy's got joke after joke after joke. Half his team arrested last year for some kind of incident on campus where you got players running around barefooted with hairnets on, beating people with frying pans. Bookies are involved. They just had one yesterday arrested for domestic violence. Mullen will be out making excuses for this. But you've got to love Dan Mullen, right? I mean, this guy, Cousin Eddie from the Vacation movies, this guy's in way over his head, ain't he? So unqualified. This guy's been a head coach in the SEC for a decade. Never even won a division title. But Florida fans are sold on this guy. They think because he was the offensive coordinator when they had Tim Tebow that actually means something in 2019. When you have Pepe Le Pew Franks, it's amazing. It doesn't. It means absolutely nothing. He almost got his ass whipped last year by, what game was that? Oh, the Florida Vanderbilt game. You guys remember that? Derek Mason would have whooped Dan Mullen's ass, wouldn't he? Yeah, he would. It wouldn't have been nothing but Dan Mullen would have been nothing but a pale stain on that field if the other coaches wouldn't have been holding him back. Derek Mason would have hit Dan Mullen so many times he would have thought he was surrounded. That just wouldn't have been a fair fight. Derek Mason would have humiliated Dan Mullen. But Dan Mullen, one of my favorite coaches. The guy's no good. What did he do last year? Win 10 games? Florida fans happy as hell. Of course, McElwain was winning 10 games too. Difference is McElwain can win a division. Mullen can't. McElwain, SEC head coach for 3 years, won 2 division titles. Again, Mullen, SEC head coach for a decade, can't win nothing. It's absolutely amazing. Last offseason, he comes out with this thing. You guys remember a reporter or something asked him about what he thought about Georgia winning the SEC in a playoff game and coming so close to the national title, and Dan Mullen said something to the effect of, well, Kirby Smart ain't that good. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Dan Mullen, 10 years, no nuts. And in this offseason, you got him coming out announcing that the number of people that attended the Florida spring game was the same as the number of days since Georgia won a national title, whatever it was. Some kind of, I don't know, you had to know like Brazilian algebra to figure out what the hell he was saying, but it was supposed to be some sort of insult against UJ. But I just can't figure this out. Never in my life have I seen a coach run his mouth so much about a team and a coach that is clearly better and ahead of him, and then have absolutely nothing to back it up in terms of big-time wins. I mean, like I said, Mullen has done nothing, and that's likely to continue. But Dan Mullen comes in 3rd this year on Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite coaches. All right, and I said the top 3 was hard. The top 2 is really what gave me the hardest time. I ended up putting Mullen at 3rd because he hasn't been in the SEC East as long as these other 2 guys have. So it really came down to these last 2 for me in terms of who was going to be my absolute favorite. Barely missing out on the award this year and coming in 2nd place on the list of Uncle Lou's 2019 favorite college football head coaches, none other than the head Barner himself, the $7 million loser, Gus Malzah. What a coach this guy is, right? Can't win 10 games in back-to-back seasons. Gets blown out in the SEC title game, loses to Central Florida in a bowl game, beats Georgia and Alabama in back-to-back weeks, and then finishes the season with 2 losses after that. That, of course, was the 2017 season. Comes out last year, gets absolutely blown out again by Georgia and Alabama. They give this guy a raise after he lost the SEC title game and lost to Central Florida. They give this guy a raise to $7 million a year. Absolutely ridiculous. $7 million a year for winning the division and getting blown out in the SEC title game. The year before that, half the Auburn fans wanted him fired. Then they bumped him up to $7 million. Fast forward to 2018. He's struggling again per usual. The fans are all up in arms. Can't believe it. We got to get rid of this guy. They're balancing their checkbook. Oops, can't afford the buyout. Buyout was like $25 million. Barners are giving excuses about how they have boosters that can pay it. No, you don't. That's why he's still there this year. That is the only reason. The only reason Gus Malzah did not get fired in 2018 is because they gave him a raise to $7 million in 2017, which is probably the worst coaching contract in football history. The raise and extension that the Barn gave Gus Malzah after the 2017 season. It's got to be the worst contract in college football history. The good news is for the Barners, and the bad news for me, there's a very good chance Malzahn won't be able to make this list next year because he'll be out of a job. Auburn's going to struggle this year. They're breaking in a new quarterback. They're going to get road graded by their two biggest rivals, again, being Georgia and Alabama. They're going to lose to LSU. I think they're going to lose to Texas A&M. Florida could beat them. I mean, Auburn could be looking at a 6 or 7 win season here. They're going to run Malzahn out if there's any way possible for them to come up with the money to foot that bill for the buyout. But anyway, $7 million a year PE teacher, an overrated PE teacher at that, comes in second on this year's list of Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite coaches. All right, here's a guy. This is the only guy to ever make this list for 2 different teams. Will Muschamp, my #1 favorite head coach in all of college football. I absolutely love Will Muschamp. Will Muschamp is a damn good dog, a dog for life. Of course, went to and played football for the University of Georgia, and ever since then, we have been sending him around from SEC school to SEC school to absolutely destroy them from the inside out. It worked like a charm at Florida. Will Muschamp down there at Florida losing to teams like Georgia Southern, winning 3 and 4 games in a season, absolutely abysmal. Goes to Auburn, runs their defense for a year while we road grade them, and now, of course, been at South Carolina the last 2 or 3 years, a perennial basement dweller in the SEC. Now, did Georgia need to send Will Muschamp to South Carolina to destroy it? No. South Carolina's been doing a great job of destroying their program all by themselves for decades. It was really more a salt in the wound type of thing, and no one else wanted to hire Will Muschamp. Listen, Will Muschamp is the head coach at South Carolina for the same reason that Jeremy Pruitt is the head coach at Tennessee. Nobody else wanted Muschamp, and nobody else wanted Pruitt, and no real coaches wanted to coach at South Carolina or Tennessee. That's why Muschamp is there. So Muschamp will be there for a while. He'll rebuild his image. Maybe. I don't know. South Carolina will fire him once they figure out he's never going to win him anything. And then hopefully another SEC team gives him another shot down the road. But like I said, Will Muschamp, I love this guy. Definitely one of my favorite coaches of all time. And right now, 2019, he makes this list at #1. A damn good dog. Listen, top 5 Georgia Bulldogs of all time. Vince Dooley, Herschel Walker, Todd Gurley, whoever you want to put it for. And #5 is Will Muschamp. This guy has been putting in work for the University of Georgia since the late 80s, early 90s. This guy is an absolute beast and a boss. Will Muschamp, sir, you'll never have to pay for a meal in Athens, Georgia for the rest of your life. I can promise you that. Keep up the good work. Dog Nation supports you. Boom! Yeah, and good luck this year to the Boom Chickens. You're going to need it with that schedule. Alabama, lost. Georgia, lost. Clemson, lost. Texas A&M, lost. You haven't beat Kentucky in 4 years, lost. Carolina be struggling to make a bowl game. Will Boom Chicken Muschamp be laughing all the way to the bank on behalf of my Georgia Bulldogs. Thank you, sir. You guys have a great morning.